Well, hello and welcome to my final Taint Week show here on Stand Up. I normally, of course, open each day's show with the good stuff segment, followed by the news and clips, then I get to my interview. But here on Taint Week, where there are no rules and I've been actually trying to relax and do nothing, that is not today's show format. I've got Christian Finnegan joining me, and it's awesome. By the way, just starting to figure out how to be better at letting my mind rest and do less, which is hard for anybody who's motivated the way I am, loves what they do, and is self-employed. But now it's time to get back to work in the regular format of the show. So I'm getting better. I'm learning a lot. I learned a lot. I did a lot of reading and writing and meditation during the last week or so. So really has been a great semi-break. It's not a full break. I have been posting shows. Very grateful for your support and understanding. Obviously, like I said, it's not a full vacation, but I want to thank Glenn Kirshner, Tim Wise, in Wajahat Ali, all who took some time from the taint to take a call from me this week. Today I wrap up the week and, in a way, the year with our good friend Christian Finnegan, who's just getting over like 10 days of some kind of brutal flu or something. We had to talk a bit about that here at the beginning, but Christian and I had another very enlightening, thought-provoking, hilarious conversation. He legit made me laugh really hard, more than once, so I think you'll like this chat. We always love when Christian joins us. He'll be with us in person in Las Vegas for PODJAM 2, and he'll be joining me more regularly in the run-up to it to get you all excited to see him. I hope that you will join us out there in Las Vegas, March 28th to 30th. You can get your tickets right now. There are links in the show notes and every day subscriber email that you get, along in that subscriber email with a wonderful photograph of nature we like to call hashtag vitamin N. And by the way, I'm a little short on it, so I encourage you to get outside. Maybe this assignment could be a motivation to get out there during this upcoming anticipated Arctic blast, or what meteorologists and weather people are referring to as Arctic Storm Blair, which is bringing a whole bunch of cold air with her or him, or I don't know. Is this storm gender neutral? I think it is. But what it is going to be is ice and snow and very cold. So get out there, most of the country at least, and get your vitamin N and send me a photo. Okay. Well, I hope you enjoyed today's conversation. I hope you're doing okay, and that my permission to ride out this Taint Week on the Taint has come across. I just use Taint now, like the Smurfs use Smurf. I appreciate your permission and support. I'm so happy that you're listening here, and let's get to my conversation with comedian, cultural commentator Christian Finnegan, whose Substack you've got to subscribe to. Now, if not just for the best of 2024 lists, go to newmusicforolds.substack.com, and you can thank me later. Also, give him a follow on Blue Sky if you haven't already. He's making me laugh there as well. We go through some of those posts of his here at the top. Let's do it right now with Christian Finnegan. Christian Finnegan. That's the song.
Peter Dominic.
Good to see you. Hey, man.
Thanks. Nice to see you as well.
I just want to reach out. I was just going through your latest Blue Sky, and I'm so glad you're on there and posting, and whether it's a funny joke or a thought. I love it. Even the dumbest one-liners. I giggle heartily, and I'll mention a couple of them, but I didn't know that you had bird flu for 10 days. Are you okay?
Oh, dude, I'm myself Googling tells me it's RSV because I took 3 different COVID tests and I never tested positive. But man, I was laid out for days. I like probably not quite as intense as the worst time I had COVID, but longer. It was like probably a good 9 days that I was just like, tomorrow I'm going to feel good. Tomorrow I'm going to feel good. Yeah. Or just the flu or whatever. But man, I don't know if I'm just now weakened because of a couple bouts of COVID or whatever. But man, it was a real fucking drag. I ain't going to lie to you.
Did you go to the doctor?
No. Because it's like, what are they going to tell me?
Fair enough.
What are they? Honestly, it's like, the fact that I was so sick is what made me not want to go to the doctor, because I can't. First of all, it's like I go to Mount Sinai in Astoria, and so it's you can't just walk in. You got to make an appointment. I'm not going to go sit in an emergency room for 3 hours for them to just tell me to drink water and get rest.
I am so sorry to hear that. Had I known that you were so sick, I would have done nothing differently.
I totally understand that, and let me tell you, the whole time I was sick, I thought of you not at all.
Not even for, you saw a post you came across a Facebook post or something, and you're like, and then it was like
and then And then I rushed to the bathroom and had explosive diarrhea.
Did you have diarrhea with this? You had gastro?
I did, man. I had everything. It was fucking brutal. Brutal.
Whoa, that does not sound good. You said in your post, coming off 10 days of sheer misery, so I wish I'd gotten my flu shot. Don't be a dummy like me. And you were quoting the post of a doctor who said he's been seeing more people sick with flu than this time in 2019. And the doctor went on, by the way, to say, nobody likes to hear it, but one thing that would most reliably make their symptoms better is going back in time and getting a flu shot. So you were regretting not getting that flu shot. I don't know how accurate the strain is this year, but clearly this doctor thinks it would have made it better. But regardless, that sounds like way worse than sheer misery. Like you didn't spell it out enough.
Oh, yeah. No, it's funny. The one thing I wasn't doing was puking, but everything else, just like soaking my sheets every night with just sweat and just like brutal. Yeah. Listen, we've all been sick before. We know what it's like. But I will say, again, I don't know whether it's just a particularly bad strain or whether we've all become slightly weakened or what, but I don't feel like I have been I don't think I was this kind of sick before COVID, even though this wasn't COVID, if that makes sense.
Wow. Here's the lesson, because you said basically with that post, and now we're echoing that idea here on the podcast. I had not gotten my flu shot yet for no other reason than I tried once and there was a line. You had to have an appointment. I didn't know. I'm for it. I just haven't gotten it. I'm not out around a lot of people, so I've been skating. Nonetheless, your message to me, loud and clear, I am off to one of the corporate chains.
Yeah, man, just head to CVS, dude. It's easy for me to lecture now because I didn't do it, and I never won't do it again. I'll say that.
There you go. There you go, everybody. Go get your flu shot and your updated COVID shot. And soon bird flu is going to cross over to humans. I think that's probably going to be during the first. And
I hear you're putting estrogen in the flu shots, which will be nice for me.
Where are you hearing that? Why would they're putting estrogen?
It's on a subreddit I belong to. No, I'm just joking. It's just, I feel like that's one of the things that weirdos say.
Speaking of weirdos saying things, you also posted over at Blue Sky about Whitney Cummings, our friend Whitney Cummings, who's a very successful stand-up comedian. She was on the CNN New Year's programming, and she said some crazy shit.
Yeah, I don't even think I tweeted. I don't even think I posted about it. I just retweeted somebody else. But it's just, I'm just so sick of these LA dummies who think that leaning into this, I'm not Republican, I'm just anti-liberal, or like this bullshit dance that these comedians go through to try to like appeal, to try to feel like edgelords, but they don't want to just come out and flat out say, I'm MAGA now. They're going where they think the audience is. Listen, I haven't seen Whitney in 15 years. She's having a lot of success. Good for her. But it's just like, the day I listen to somebody like Whitney Cummings, I think David J. Roth is the guy I think he posted. You're talking these people who literally haven't opened their own mail in 10 years. And we're supposed to listen to them and act like they have some sort of secret knowledge that isn't available to the rest of us. It's just, it really is just like the dumbest of the dumb. And I'm sorry, there are comedians who have very intellectual ideas and whose thoughts on the world interest me. She ain't one of them.
Well said. Really well said. I fully agree. And I knew Whitney before anybody did as one of her, the first comedian. People liked her a lot, had a good relationship. That shit is nonsense. But your accurate description. I
didn't know her that well. I do remember the feeling of her foot on my shoulder as she tried to climb over other comedians to desperately.
Yeah, there was definitely some bodies lying around for sure. Yeah, that's interesting way of putting it, hilariously. Sometimes people, this happened to me so much as a result, not of a stand-up, but working at Sirius, and people coming through there, and when I was out, so was my number in their phone. Not so many, but I remember the few. I remember the too many, I think, that some people can get away with it because they were slumming it with me, right? Fine. And others were going through their publicists, like, fine. But the people who I gave an opportunity to, that they don't return the call, those ones. You remember those ones.
You know, Yes.
No grudges, not going to hurt them, not even wishing them anything bad. It's just, you remember him when you see him, you hear of him, you're like, oh yeah.
You file that away, and you have to understand that the love isn't real and the hatred isn't real either. And most people are just so busy picking lint out of their own belly buttons that they don't even realize whether they're coming off well or not well to you, because it's so transactional that you really can't take it personal when they're loving you, and you can't take it personal when they're not paying attention to you anymore.
It's very well said, as always. It's also something very easy to identify in show business and media in a lot of industries. But as you're talking, I'm thinking, do people do that kind of thing, that kind of opportunistic ladder climbing thing, as public school teachers or administrators or plumbers? Is that always a thing? Is that a thing that
Yes, I think to a degree, there's always going to be people who are, and sometimes that can be an admirable quality. People who are really ambitious and they set their intention. There's a way to do it without being a scumbag. But I think if you're in the entertainment business, which is already about the monopolization of attention, then it's not the same as being a plumber, where ostensibly you are being judged on your work.
Right.
Even with comedy, even if the quality of your comedy or the quality of your acting or the quality of your music is fantastic, really what the money people are giving you money for is because of how they see other people react to you. You know what I mean?
Absolutely. So other things are more of probably a lot of other jobs are more of a meritocracy once you're in there. And
well, at least there's some tactile proof. It's like, oh, you built my house. It either fell down or it didn't.
You're right. More likely did a home repair, but yes.
You know what I'm saying?
Yeah,
though,
for sure. For sure.
You make shoelaces. These fell apart. These
very specific example. Old shoelace maker Otis is a guy I know and makes shoelaces. Let's go to your blue sky for a break as I transition into another question, because I like that you're sharing these, writing these. I laughed at each one of them. You're gonna put yourself down, or maybe you won't. Here it is. That Mr. Peanut thinks he's so great.
Yeah, just an unlikable corporate mascot. Just in general, it's like, in this era of Luigi Mangione, are we just going to let this fancy pants legume stand up there and act all fucking robber baron?
Yeah. Did you just see him? Did you see him and then you wrote that? You were like, this smug fucking prick.
Yeah, I just came across a picture somewhere and like, what the fuck do you have to be smirking about?
Now this one this is a great joke. You write on Blue Sky, I just cleaned the filter on my Dreamcatcher and ew. I like that one a lot. What's going on? What happened? Are you okay? You having a lot of bad ones or?
Yeah, I had Abraham Lincoln residue and other things I've dreamed about. A unicorn with a penis for a horn. I don't know what that was about.
Wow.
There's probably some backstory to that.
Wow, that is really deep, that one. I would probably write about that in my journal if I were you and you journaled. And then you wrote on New Year's Eve, it looks like you shared this. Exceptional New Year's Eve weather. Not at all ominous. 5 stars. It was thundering and lightning and raining really hard in New York on New Year's Eve. And I was in bed before I even before I connected the dots that it was that weather on New Year's Eve. But you think that's foretells of some ominous future?
Yeah, as if we all aren't holding on to our nuts going into 25 to begin with. I feel like when you see like a penalty kick in soccer and you see all the defenders lined up in front of the goal and they're just covering their nuts with their hand and they look like vaguely like they're just waiting for it. Here it comes. They're waiting for it. That's how I feel like America is just lined up holding their nuts waiting for next year. And so to have just such a just to be so on the nose meteorologically, I knew I was going to get that word out if I just tried that 5th time. For people who weren't in New York, it was like light up the sky lightning. Like it was the kind of lightning where you expected to hear Frau Blucher.
Why?
Young Frank.
I didn't realize it was that kind of lightning, but yeah, it was really severe and did seem out of season, if you will. What would it be?
Yeah, it felt very summery, like a summer lightning storm is how it felt like.
Yeah,
but
perfectly said.
Did you have a nice New Year? Were you just inside?
Yeah, no, I was quiet and in bed and forgot to a certain extent. I cannot turn on those New Year's Eve programming. I'm shocked that none of the main networks had figured out a good thing to draw people in. But man, the obvious one, maybe the most popular one at this point, is the CNN. I don't know. So you got Andy Cohen and Anderson Cooper, who are actually good friends in real life and actually super rich white gay men, and still have awful chemistry to the point. The one clip I watched of Whitney Cummings, I was distracted by Andy Cohen's umbrella. Like, he kept getting annoyed that Anderson wasn't covering him with the umbrella and kept moving. And that's all I could watch. It's horror. It's not even like worth watching for the discomfort. At least that's my past review of their lack of actual charisma, which is bizarre. No one has charisma with Anderson, by the way. He is tough to.
It looks like someone hasn't heard of a little man called Ryan Seacrest. Thank you. Who was tearing it up on ABC. Now, I don't know. I was at QED and we had the TV on just on mute. And so I don't know. And it's like nothing will really reinforce your coming mortality as you get older, like a rockin' New Year's Eve with a bunch of 14-year-olds who are apparently incredibly famous, and you literally can't identify one of them. All the guests, the musical guests and like the actors who come on, and you're like, oh yeah, here's the passage of time literally put in my face that none of these people who represent the future are even the slightest bit recognizable.
Yeah, we're there. That's a one way of describing where we're at in our American lives. All right. Also love, and I could do this with you every week if you continue to post, because I loved just going over to your feed at Blue Sky, as everybody should be following Christian, of course, and reading what you're posting, because this one is.
I'm trying to. I know that eventually I'll get topical and want to be posting about the news and stuff like that, but for some reason I have found myself just for a while just wanting to mostly post silly jokes.
Great.
I just can't. I don't know. I just don't feel like I have fully found my smile about some of this stuff. And I think in terms of righteously indignant posting, a lot of people do it better than me. So I just post silly jokes and I retweet smart things that other people say.
Listen, you're good at a lot of things. So whatever you choose to do during this season, I'm here for it, which is why I always want to talk to you and have you in my world, because I'm a legit fan no matter what you're doing.
You're the mother I wish I had.
I have a lot of things I want to say now. But I want to get to this post, which is so great. And I just shared it and quoted it, added my personal feelings. But you wrote, I'm not a football guy, and I generally wish good things for the New York Jets, but it has been a delightful to watch Aaron Rodgers eat bowl after bowl of shit. I so enjoy the way that you put things. I have enjoyed. A lot of listeners tell me this about you. My friend Joe Liotta was just telling me this. We were out to brunch, longtime listener, big Finnegan fan as I am. He says what I'm thinking so crystal clear. It's exactly what I've been feeling every week as I watch this guy just slowly die. I haven't thought about how I would characterize it, but it is, yes, generally I'm not someone who enjoys other people's pain, but seeing him eat bowl after bowl of shit, as you write it, has been satisfying. I'm not going to lie. He has done a lot of damage with his anti-vax bullshit, and giving anybody who gives that theory credibility is real guilty in my mind.
But also just his personality is such that now I've got it in my head that your friend said that I'm so concise and I'm just going to blather on for 30 seconds without saying anything. But his personality, that sort of smug, because I'm sure for most of his professional life, he has been one of the smarter guys in the rooms he's been in. The thing is,
pseudo smart. Yeah.
His rooms have been full of dumb people.
Right.
So he has, and I'm not saying football players are necessarily dumb, but in terms of having opinions about politics in the world. And so it's like, he's the quintessential, I've read 5 books guy, which are, in my opinion, is like one of the least likable personality traits, is someone read 5 books. And so they think that they're somehow smarter than the average bear. And so to watch him, and of course, he's on the stupid Pat McAfee show all the time. And the whole time he was injured last year, he was just smugness that you would almost make you need to wipe off your camera on your, so oily and gross. And so to just watch him not just suck one week, but and legitimately suck, not just have a team that sucks and he's awesome, but he has sucked. He has sucked. And it's been lovely to watch. And now he's trying to blame it on the Jets, the owner and the owner's son or whatever. Dude, you've eaten shit, and everyone has to double down in the 2020. Nobody can ever just quietly admit that they fucked up and go away. So it's been really lovely to watch him twist in the wind. And I really wish nothing but bad things.
I don't talk much sports here, but I do pay a lot of attention to it. And you made me think one thought, which is, how many professional athletes, quarterbacks, marquee players, and other sports legitimately had a claim to blame the general manager, the coach, or the owner, but didn't, because they just played the long game. They didn't want to make it about them. It's a business. For any reason at all, I just don't recall Joe Montana. I'm sure many of them did. I'm sure some of them did at some point, but it just seems so Aaron Rodgers, blame everybody but me, which is a insidious virus in our country and our culture, is to blame everyone else or anyone else for your lot in life in any way. I think we all have a little bit of that.
Yeah, I'm sorry to interrupt. Yes, to blame other people for the lot in life. But this is going to sound like a weird connection. But to me, this is all a part of a certain virus that our country has. The world has, but I think it's worse in America as a result of what we're doing right now, podcasts, social media, etc., is that we're all way too aware of how we're being perceived and how we're perceiving other people. We're way too macro in our view of the world now. We're self-centered, but completely nobody's thinking about the people work with. Nobody's thinking about the people in their church or their community or their bowling group, whatever. They're thinking about random people out there somewhere. They're thinking about
Peter Navarro.
Yes, exactly. Or
I think about, hold on. I think about him a lot.
Yeah. Sure. Yeah. Pick your rogues gallery of douchebags. But we're also thinking about what is the world thinking of me? And I know it sounds dumb. I actually loop in stuff like the dude who blew up the Cybertruck in front of Trump Las Vegas, and the New Orleans guy, and Luigi Mangione. To me, it's all symptoms of a same sickness of a being way too aware of the world at large and feeling pointless and small, but at the same time trying to pretend that we're a big deal online. The constant public life that we all have to lead now, mixed with the incredibly intense feeling of loneliness and isolation that we actually experience in our waking lives. That where those two bump up against each other, to me, I just think it's rotting people's brains, and it's making us act in ways that we wouldn't have recognized 10 years ago. I think there's a lot of people out there who would not believe the people they've become if you were to show them a film 10 years ago and be like, this is how you're going to be acting and the things you're going to be saying and posting online in 10 years. I don't think people would believe it.
Wow, that is a really interesting analysis of kind of what we've become, as well as it would seem an indictment on my entire career.
Yes. Oh, that's really what I was going for, is what I was going. I feel like the way.
Do you see what I did there? I made that whole diatribe also about me.
Yeah. No, I really think that the way back to sort of cultural sanity should begin with you stopping. Just stop. I think I think as a people, Americans need together, and we need to get together, and we need to collectively, with one voice, say, Pete, stop it.
I did. I knew. Wow. I feel terrible.
I just hope you'll maybe think about what you've done in 2020.
I am. It's time to just quit and get in that garden or train horses or something else that I've been considering. And I'm thinking of.
Well, I will say, in your defense and in the world's defense, it's probably not a coincidence that my grand theory of what's wrong in life just happens to dovetail with the stuff I don't like to do. It's probably not a coincidence.
I will say something in my defense as a way to, you're giving me the opportunity to both to promote at least my work, which I feel really good about, because now what I feel as much as anything else excited about, and the reason I think probably motivated to do this, is having created the community. Community is a legit thing that all philosophies and religions preach, is a virtue, is a good thing to do and to be a part of, and helps, especially in trying times. And so I do feel, I love that, which I love that you're going to be.
I feel like now I'm slightly backtracking slightly, but you've created an actual community of actual human beings who know each other's names and actually might know each other's pets' names and kids' names and spouses' names, and that there is actually, it's primarily virtual, but it's a real community of real human beings. It's not just this sort of amorphous, this kind of faceless audience that we all imagine that we're existing in front of.
Yeah.
And yet we're also completely alone at the same time.
Right. No, yes, I see the hair splitting you're doing, and I appreciate it. And I'm excited to have you in the real flesh back in Vegas at the end of March for PODJAM 2, where we still have to define your role at PODJAM 2. It's going to be a little different this year at programming. So I'm excited to decide. And it might be something to do with gambling. I think I was going to suggest that we don't have to do this on the air, but you love blackjack and you love playing. And so I'm sure you're going to do that again this year. So I don't know, maybe there's something around that. You can do whatever you want, but.
I do. Or we could all take bets on who will snap first in 2025, who will go off the grid first. I think the good money is on me. On January 1st, 2026, it would not surprise me at all if I'm living on an ashram somewhere.
I hope that you do. I think that sounds great for you, at least for a while.
The robes look very comfortable. I'm not going to lie.
That's what you're most attracted by.
They don't, not a lot of tight waistbands. You can really.
Oh God, I love it. I could probably let you go at this point, but I don't know what else. I'm looking at your blue sky, but how do you feel about all of these, looking at the past year in memoriam, all those things? Do you click on it? Do you watch them? I will say, the one thing I clicked on is I watched that roast of 2024 with Jeff Ross and Tim Dillon and Mark Norman and Sam Morrill and Miss Pat and a couple of others. I actually was entertained by the guy who, now I'm forgetting his name, who played Joe Biden. I watched the whole thing just to see it almost as a.
Was this a live show?
It was like a roast. No, it was like, it's the Netflix roast of 2024. It was Netflix. That's the only thing I watched. It was fine. I do Sam Morrill and Mark Norman's comedy most of the time. And so I enjoyed that. And Jeff Ross even had some good jokes. Anyway, do you subscribe? Do you click on any of those? Do you look back at all the celebrities, the artists? You probably look at all the musicians who died and write.
Yeah, I'm a huge year-end music list guy. And so I pour through all of those. And I'm always curious to read what people's favorite movies or TV shows. I don't agree with most or whatever, but I think to me, and I can only speak for myself, I really like making year-end lists because it helps me drill down on what did I actually enjoy this year? Like what meant something to me. Now at the end of the year, if I look back at all the movies I've seen or TV shows, like what actually has resonated with me, and it helps me identify what my taste is, because sometimes what I think I enjoyed is not necessarily what I actually enjoyed the most, like when it comes to like movies and TV shows and stuff. Oh, I had no idea I was a big sci-fi fan, apparently, because 3 of the 5 best things I saw this year were science fiction based or whatever. I think I don't necessarily think that anyone gives a shit if I post lists or whatnot, but I enjoy them. I enjoy making them. I enjoy reading them.
Oh, did you post lists?
Huh?
Did you post any lists?
I posted my newsletter. I did.
I didn't see it.
I did albums and songs and movies and TV shows. And
that's great. I have been definitely part of my taint week has definitely not been looking at email. Go check out New Music for Olds and check out Christian's list. Okay, I'm headed over there right now. That's cool. That's actually a great thing for you to be doing for your newsletter.
I very much like, I don't necessarily know that other people give a crap, but
cool. Here it is.
For me, it's pretty much the end of year thing.
Oh, this is great. My favorite songs of 2024. Can I ask you if you put these anywhere you did make a playlist of them?
I did.
So if this playlist is on Apple Music and Amazon Music, is that right?
A lot of Amazon and Apple. I made a playlist for all of them.
Oh, that's great. I'm going to go hit that up right now. I'm sorry I didn't know that. I did prepare to talk to you, but for some reason...
How dare you not be completely up to date on my free newsletter?
Favorite albums of 2024, my favorite films of 2024, and my favorite TV shows. You're someone whose opinion I care about. So I guess the answer to my question is, when you think about, do you care about these year review? Depends on who's making it.
Yeah, true. I would give just a general recommendation to people movie-wise. If you have Prime Video, watch Hundreds of Beavers. It technically came out in 2023, but it's re-released in theaters now, or it's going to be. It was in 2024, whatever. So I didn't see it until a few weeks ago. But it's this sort of modern.
I just started playing it, probably
silent film thing. It's really goofy and silly, and
it's 1 minute and 20 seconds.
Huh?
Oh, that's the trailer for it. I'm sorry. In this silent supernatural epic, a drunken Applejack salesman is thrust into the frigid wilderness. It's a silent movie?
There's occasional sounds and music and stuff like that, but it's mostly almost like a Tom and Jerry cartoon. It's like a live action 1 hour and 45 minute Tom and Jerry cartoon, but it's really silly, and it's not like anything that you've seen recently.
Okay. You're such a fucking elitist, pretentious prick on this film list, at least.
It's not an elitist movie at all. And
whatever. No one's heard of it. Everything that you mention has got to be like more obscure and more like, I wouldn't have heard. I live in a mainstream world, and you live in this alternative. Look at these movies. I haven't heard of any of them. Okay. Hitman. That's mainstream. Furiosa's mainstream, and Kingdom of Planet of the Apes. The rest of these I don't recognize.
There's a lot
Thelma?
of them they're all mainstream. Huh?
Thelma?
Thelma is fantastic. Thelma is my favorite movie of 2024.
Yeah.
And it is the least elitist movie in the world. It's literally about a woman who, like an old woman on a jazzy scooter trying to she gets scammed out of money on the phone. And so she and another elderly person like go on a mission to try to get money back.
Man, I should have done this whole appearance with you about all of these, but instead, I highly recommend that people go check out, if you haven't subscribed to Christian Finnegan. That's what you should do. That's what you should do for yourself for this year.
Get the year off to a good start.
Yeah, get the year off to a good start and subscribe to New Music for Olds. And do it now. I'll link to it in the show notes, and I'll let you go on that, because I legitimately want to stop talking to you and just go read your suggestions here and for all of it. Okay. You actually turned to me on this question about, do you pay attention to these? Depends on who's making them. You made it.
Well, and I will say, in terms of your own life, in terms of thinking about like the past year and whatnot, I think that you should shoot higher than that and not just obsess over the recent past. But I like to go back a good 20 years and think about the mistakes I made way back then and how they've led me to the problems I encounter now. To really like, how did that argument I got into with my 5th grade gym teacher affect where I'm at in my life now.
What's a real one that you did? Is that a real one?
Oh no, but there's not a scab that I don't love picking. If there's like some terrible mistake I made or a conversation that really I regret or something stupid or cringeworthy that I did, I will roll around in that like a pig in shit.
So do you recognize, you don't think that's a good thing to do you? That was a loaded.
I think the world says it's not a good thing to do. It makes me feel something.
It's an analysis of why you are the way you are. Am I hearing you right?
Probably. For the better and for the worse, I think. For
the better and for the worse. Why you are the way you are, or who you are, and why you're at the way you're at, where you're at, etc. It's all as a result of the choices, the things that happened in the past.
Yeah, you start to see, and we're getting way off the reservation.
No, I like this. Go ahead. I like this. And I don't like when people say we're getting off the reservation because I have a lot of sensitivity to Native peoples, but I do what you're saying.
Yes, I agree with that. And even as it's coming out of my mouth, I was like, I could have thought of a better idiom than that. But anyway, the comedian part of me wants to yes and now say something even more important. I'm sorry, even offensive. Like,
I love it.
Up the ante and be like, you're right. I should not say off the reservation.
I see it. Anyway, I see it all happening.
Big Chief Sunrise. And,
you did it. Well done. So no, but just explain. I'm interested in it because you've thought about it. And so I just want to know, and I'll let you go, but I just want to know what you think about this ideology.
What was I even saying?
Living in the past and how it defines who you are and why you are and where you are. And do you think that's healthy, productive?
I don't necessarily know that it's something that it can be helpful. I think that there's a good side and a bad side to it. I think that a lot of comedians, specifically comedians, but like writers, and that what makes them different than non-writers or comedians is that they will chew over things for a lot longer and try to break them down and perform what my friend refers to a friend of mine who is describing my comedy, which I've never been able to do, referred to it as social autopsy, which I thought was like really awesome.
Yeah.
I aspire to deserve a phrase like that. But that weird thing, what made it weird? Why was it weird? How could it have been less weird? Like really chewing over when there's going to be moments in your life where you're just made to feel uncomfortable, or you say something that or somebody says something and it hits your ear the wrong way, or you're reliving arguments that you wish had gone a different way. I think a comedian's general nature is to just want to chew that food over and over and over. And that can be positive in the sense that like you come up with material, but it can also obviously be very negative in other ways that it.
I see what you're saying, why it's specific to comedians. Because, I've said this before, but when I was 24, I decided to go to a therapist to mine my life and my past for material because I couldn't write. I've never been that good, but I thought that was a good idea, and it was. But it also turned out to be a good idea for me in general. But that's why you're saying comedian specific, look in the past to mine it for material. And and
also just to really I don't know, search through our own scat to when you have to go through your pet's poop or whatever to find if they ate something bad. Like there's something in a comedian's pick at that scab and just like really roll around in it, and,
But I don't think I do that very much because I think when I find myself,
I think he was much more of an improv based guy. Yeah. And that's what I'm saying. This is just me, but I think I think that's why you're really good with a crowd. I think it's really why you're really good at broadcasting, because you're able to be in the moment and project forward instead of just constantly.
Yeah, I think also, if I'm being honest, I subscribe to certain philosophies because they fit me well, but like living in the past or thinking about the past, and even more so for me, it's interesting. I think about this a lot. I'm not good at planning. So just thinking about the future, both those give me anxiety. So that's why I am, as you described me, and I appreciate that. But I'm in the moment because I would rather be in the moment than think about the past or worry about the future. But most ancient philosophies say that's probably the best way to be for the most part.
No, I definitely agree that I definitely try my best to remind myself to be present in moments, because I am not that's something I struggle with.
Yeah.
I'm always either thinking about something happened before or fearing something's going to happen in the future. And I do think that you're generally going to be a happier person if you're able to exist. I mean, that's what mindfulness is.
I wasn't sure. I'm glad to hear you say that, because I wasn't sure what you thought about mindfulness. And I'm glad to hear that you say that you're not necessarily.
I've never been able to pull it off personally, but I acknowledge that it is I totally understand the logic to it.
On that final note, you are, however, despite all of what you're saying, someone who has made a lot of improvements in your life in different ways. 2 steps forward, 1 step back, like for you, for all of us. But you make a lot of hard choices and try to change things for your health, your mental and physical well-being. What do you think about this time of year and that whole idea? And are you subscribing to anything at all this year? Anything different?
There's that part of you that like, oh, what am I I'm going to do the resolutions. I'm going to start a diet in January. And that's doomed to failure. But then I tell myself, what's the worst? So you spend 3 weeks eating well and exercising? Like, that's a problem. Why?
It's a problem because when it stops, you then self-flagellate and you feel bad and all that cycle.
Yes, and that's, I think, where you need to. I think I'm trying to, or at least I do try to put it in the perspective of anything positive I do for myself is something positive I have done for myself. And that what happens after that doesn't matter.
Yes. Love it.
I'm trying to, my goal and we'll see, I've already missed January 1st, so it doesn't really count, but I want to, if I don't go to the gym, I want to go for a very long walk or do yoga. I want to do something every day. That's my sort of 2025 goal, is to do something like physically engaging every day.
Good.
So
Great.
We'll see.
That's doable and reasonable, and I hope that you can achieve it. When you do, success. When you don't, just get back after it. The next day. This is great. I loved it. I'm off to read new music for old.
R. Kelly said, if I can see it, I can be it.
You just quoted R. Kelly here at the end?
Yeah.
And he said, if I see it, I can be it?
If I can see it, right. Then I can be it. I think that's I Believe I Can Fly.
What do you think he was referring to?
Peeing on an underage person.
So I thought. Thank you. Bye-bye. Well, there you have it. What did I tell you? Isn't he great? Christian Finnegan, everybody. He'll be with us in Las Vegas at PodJam 2. Get your tickets for that right now. Write a rating or review of this show on Spotify or Apple Podcasts. Start off the year with a good rating and review of the show if you haven't done that already. Subscribe to me over on youtube.com/standupwithpete and Blue Sky and Threads and Instagram and all the rest. I'm posting at all the places as much as I can and can always use your help and advice and how to do that better, by the way. Some of you are social media masters, a few of you. All right, that's it. That's all. I will talk to you on Monday. Thank you very much, Christian, Waj, Glenn Kirshner, and Tim Wise, as well as all of you for your support this week. I hope you enjoyed it.
Hey, you've been sitting so long, you got the creaky knees, you got to stand up. Stand up. I think you're dry.